What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at it for a few dollars more. The second movie in Sergio Leone's Dollar trilogy, starring Clint Eastwood and now co-starring Lee Van Cleef. Now, a few dollars more tells the story of these two rival bounty hunters that join forces to take on a greater threat. All right, so I'm going to try to make this review as short as I possibly can and tell you what I thought about this movie. Overall, I thought a few dollars more was actually pretty good. It's entertaining. I thought A Fistful of Dollars is a better movie, but I think story wise, I think this was a better movie story wise. I thought that Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef as Manco. Uh, Clint Eastwood, of course, reprises his man with no name persona. This time, he's given the name of Manco in this movie, and Lee Van Cleef plays the character of Colonel Multimore. They play the two rival bounty hunters who who develop a partnership throughout the film. And I thought that and I thought that Eastwood and Van Cleef play really well off one another. And I like how this movie was more focused on the Van Cleef character and not so much the Eastwood character, though the man with no name has a prominent role. The movie is the movie primarily focuses on Van Cleef's character, who has a personal connection to the villain in this movie called Indio, and I kind of like that idea of not using the man with no name as a he's a central figure, but he's not the prominent character. The Van Cleef character is, and I like the personal connection that he gives the villain. It's revealed in this movie that the villain, known as Indio, had raped uh, Mortimer's sister, and while Mortimer's sister was being raped, she shot herself. So, pretty much in Mortimer's mind, man, Indio killed his sister, and I like that personal, and I like how he has that revenge hook, the revenge angle, which is such a Western thing, and it fits this perfectly. And and the story was fine. And to me, the man with no name, he's pretty much just along for the ride, so to speak. He's there to aid He's there to aid the character of Mortimer, and to pretty much once they capture Indio and his men, to pretty much share the bounty 50-50. That's pretty much the man with no name. That's pretty much Manco's role is in this movie. He's pretty much there as a tag along, though he's featured prominently throughout the movie. And again, performance-wise, both actors did a great job. Clint Eastwood, as always, is great, and Lee Van Cleef was really good and really carried this movie, his part of the movie, very well. And I thought the supporting cast surrounding them all did a fine job to boot. Production-wise, this movie is really well shot, really well made. Sergio Leone is a very talented director when it comes to these spaghetti westerns. I thought A Fistful of Dollars had beautiful shots, and this movie was no different. But you can also tell that this movie had a much bigger budget because the production value in this movie is much more refined as compared to A Fistful of Dollars. And this movie has beautiful landscape shots, and you really get that western type feel with the extreme close-ups, and you see the sweat pour down the faces of the actors. Like you really get that grungy, gritty type of look to it. And I love it. I think it fits. It looks great on screen. It feels real. It feels like you're watching something that's realistic, and it's done really well. That's great stuff. I thought the pacing in this movie could be a little too long, and there are moments where it does kind of drag, and I found myself losing interest and losing pretty much dozing off in certain areas. I think this movie you could have cut at least. I think this movie could at least had a good 20 something minutes cut from it. I think it would have had a much better flow. That's just me personally. I think this movie had a really drawn out over 2 hour runtime. I think you would have cut out 20 minutes. This movie would have had a nice good pace to it, and would have had much more beats to it because there were a lot of scenes that just drag on. But when you get to the action scenes, they're all well done by 1960 standards. Now, there are a couple of things in this movie that now are really hokey. There are a lot of musical cues and a lot of sound effects in this movie that are straight out of a Saturday morning cartoon. And when you watch it now, it's kind of hokey, and when you watch it, and also it's kind of like, okay, you're going for this gritty tone, but then you have like these weird sound effects that you could find in a Looney Tunes cartoon, which kind of kills the moment to me at least. Watching it from a 2020 perspective. But overall, again, you have really good production values. You have a solid story. Yes, the movie runs longer than I think it should, but you have really strong and engaging performances by Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef who really anchor this movie and make it watchable. You have entertaining fight scenes. You actually have a good villain who comes across as intimidating and also a little bit complex because throughout the entire course of this movie, the character of Indio has these flashbacks to when he raped the Mortimer's sister and her killing herself, and it kind of haunts him. And he takes drugs to kind of suppress those memories. So he's kind of a complex villain to himself too. Also to the point where he will pretty much kill and frame his own men just so he can get back at the bounty, just so he can like kill the bounty hunters himself. After the bounty hunters try to infiltrate the game, but Indio catches on quick that they are bounty hunters trying to kill him instead. So he stages this elaborate plan to try and smoke them out. And he's a good villain. I liked it. I thought it worked really really well. And I think villain wise, Indio's a much better villain as opposed to the villains in Fistful of Dollars, which didn't really do much for me. This villain was much better to me, at least. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts on A Few Dollars More. I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was really really good. And yeah, if you liked this movie, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.